Jon Bonfiglio is a Latin American correspondent. Jon, you're very welcome to the programme. How are you doing?
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Tell us about this dude, because he seems to be pretty eccentric.
He definitely is eccentric. And actually, one of the things which is least eccentric about him is his position on the Falkland Islands, because the news this week has said that, he wants to claim them back and the like. But actually, it's the most tempered position we've seen to come out of Argentina for 2 generations. That's because of one reason and one reason alone. He agrees with Rishi Sunak in that the will of the Falkland Islanders has to be respected. No Argentine politician is ever going to say anything other than the fact that the Malvinas, the Falkland Islands, belong to Argentina. But this position, in terms of seeking a long-term, I think we're talking about decades and potentially hundreds of years diplomatic solution.
Yeah, he's saying he actually wants to persuade people on the Falkland Islands to become part of Argentina by sort of peaceful methods, by persuasion. And that you're right, actually, that is not what we have often heard from the Argentinians.
Yeah, and this is actually also, you're absolutely right, one of the really important points about Milei. Milei is not a nationalist. He's not a far-right nationalist in the way that we see many figures. He's a far-right, I say the extreme right, libertarian, where the free market is king over everything, including things like the sale and purchase of human organs. So he doesn't want to get himself wrapped up too much in Project Argentina when he feels that there are bigger fish to fry internationally in terms of making this anarcho-capitalist argument globally.
So he is arguing, we're seeing some footage of him now, he's clearly a very charismatic figure with his sideburns and his, I mean, why the, I'm interested certainly in the chainsaw. Why does he keep brandishing the chainsaw?
In the social media age in which we live, being able to just really categorize what it is that you want to do in a clip or an image is key. And the chainsaw for him, the revving chainsaw at political meetings, is what he plans to do to what is his perception of bloated government. He is going to sever spending, destroy, his words, ministries, departments, reduce government spending in the country by 16% of GDP, abolish the national bank and various other things. So it is a metaphor for what he intends to do when he achieves office on December the 10th. Just
to say to your viewers on talkTV, we can see him on the screen now with the old chainsaw, and certainly if you're listening to talk radio, you can imagine this guy brandishing the chainsaw. It is a very arresting visual image. So tell me about his support. Obviously, he's become president. He has plenty of support. Why is he striking a chord with the Argentinian people, Jon?
Yeah, that's fascinating because, of course, he would have his usual base, but actually his base is massively expanded because of the economic problems that Argentina is going through and has been going through for an extended period of time. About to enter its 6th recession in 10 years, inflation at 150%, due to reach 200% by the end of the year, fears of hyperinflation setting in, highest debt on earth for a country, and poverty increasing all the time. 2 out of 5 Argentines currently live in poverty. So the vote, really, to my mind, was something of a protest vote, which says the establishment can't do anything about this, plainly has not been able to do anything about this for an extended period of time. We may as well try something else. Even if that's crazy, at least it's a different option.
But clearly I mean, there are some people who don't think he's crazy. There are many people who think that what he's saying is true. But he's actually advocated for people being able to buy and sell their organs. I mean, you mentioned that earlier on. I just want to prove that a little bit more deeply.
Yeah, this again is his sort of founding mantra as an anarcho-capitalist. He believes in a stateless society, so he doesn't really believe in Argentina as a thing. He believes all government is theft. He believes that private property should always be entrusted to private agencies, and again that the market is king. So then, if we're talking about human organs for him, then it makes perfect sense that should also enter into a free market economy, and that government has no place to regulate over that. And that is his position vis-a-vis basically everything. And that's also why I think the Falklands is not going to be an issue under his watch, because his belief is that the transfer of global capital is the defining truth. And he's not going to get caught up in territorial squabbles.
So what is he actually going to do to implement this vision, and is he going to be able to? Because there's some leaders of countries who have a lot of power to implement their vision, and some who really don't. I mean, tell us about the system in Argentina and how much of this vision is going to become a reality.
Yeah, and the system in Argentina is not too different to the system in the UK. It's very similar to the system in the US. So you've basically got a president, a prime minister, president in this regard, and then you've got two houses wherein legislation has to be passed through. So he is able certainly to set the agenda. He is able to drive forward policies, but he's not able to pass laws. That has to go through both chambers, and those chambers are not in his favour. His political capital, certainly at this point in time, is limited, so he has to make alliances. Those alliances are going to be with the centre-right. So certainly his positions vis-a-vis a lot of the policies are going to be tempered, although he has said just in the last 24 hours that his abolishing of the central bank is non-negotiable. Actually, the last 24 hours have been interesting because he's also spoken to the IMF, who some people regard as also one of the biggest issues for the Argentine economy in terms of the debt that they have. And he's also announced that he will be visiting Washington before December the 10th. And has been introduced to Donald Trump, and they will be meeting, it seems, in Buenos Aires at some point in the next few weeks.
I mean, the question is, if he is going to go to America, will he get that chainsaw through the old metal detectors? That's my question. Jon, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. Jon Bonfiglio, who's Latin American correspondent.